Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the season finale of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or should I call it Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Spoilers, of course, for this entire episode and the entire series as a whole, because this is going to act as at first a recap and review of the finale of this season, but also just a review of the series as a whole, because I have a lot of thoughts. This is my third video now on this series, and now that I'm able to see it as a whole, as it is, and as it has been completed, I have lots of thoughts on this show. So buckle in, guys. I'm very excited to talk about it today. But before we get into it, I do want to mention that I have my episode 7 review up for Invincible, which if you guys have not been watching that show and you have a void in your hearts for Marvel up until July, until the next Marvel property comes out, definitely check out Invincible and my review series on that. I've been loving talking about that show as well as this one, so definitely check those videos out, as well as my rankings of all 8 Best Picture movies. I released that a couple days ago as well, with the Oscars upcoming very soon, and Mortal Kombat is coming out, and I saw it and I enjoyed it, and I'll have a review out for that tomorrow. But that all being said, let's just jump right into the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And this episode was an action-packed episode right from the beginning. You get to see the the GRC is being attacked by the Flag Smashers, and they're getting in there and they're smoking everybody out, and they're luring them into different cars. And of course you have Captain America himself, Anthony Mackie, fly in through the glass and just is awesome in the suit, holding that shield, and it is so earned. That's the thing that I want to talk about most in this episode. Is the thing that this show had to do most, and the thing that I was really hoping the show did, was explore what it means for this character, for Falcon, for Sam Wilson, a black man, to become Captain America, and how important that storyline is, and how extremely well done it was in this show. And that is the thing that I love most about this entire series. Yes, you had times in episodes where it seemed like Anthony Mackie was taking the backseat because he wasn't the Falcon at all. In a couple episodes, I think it was like 3 and 4, where he didn't show up too much as Falcon. He was just Sam Wilson, but that was all character building for episode 5. And once you get to see him don the suit and holding that shield in the beginning of this episode, it is so incredibly earned. And he was awesome in the action sequences, because no, he does not have the super serum, super soldier serum. He doesn't have any powers. He just has, this new awesome suit that was made by the Wakandans, and that shield, of course, and that ability to his fighting skills and his training that he did in the last episode, that's able to make him stand up against these super soldiers. And it was awesome to see him fight that guy from the Winter Soldier movie that I always forget his name, but the action sequence with him was pretty fun. But the action sequences with him flying, chasing the helicopter with the hostages in it, was extremely thrilling. And that moment where he gets Red Wing to see if there was anybody in the helicopter that could fly a helicopter, and he finds one and he communicates with her, and like on the count of 5 you're gonna have to get the controls of this thing, and he just flies right through and just tackles this guy out of the helicopter and just drops him into the ocean. That was just such a great moment in this episode. And of course you have Bucky chasing off after the other hostages in the SWAT cars that have been taken hostage, and he's chasing after them, and he's able to successfully stop them, at least momentarily, before they're able to drive off with Karli. And there's a great moment in this that is showing the character arc of Bucky, and how he is such a great hero, along with Sam Wilson being such a great hero himself, being so great as Captain America. You get to see Bucky choosing, instead of chasing after Karli, she sets the hostages van on fire, and he goes and he tries to help them. And that's when you get US agent himself come in with his fake Captain America shield, saying these awful Captain America-y, just terrible lines of dialogue, which is definitely purposeful, but it's very funny to see him try so desperately to be Captain America when he just definitely is not. And he's starting to fight Karli while Bucky's trying to save the hostages, and he's able to do that. And this fight sequence on the ground was also very entertaining, until of course things go bad. Bucky gets knocked down with this other super soldier, and then you have John Walker faced with the decision that Bucky just had, whereas either save the hostages, which Karli just drove them essentially off a building, and he's debating whether or not to save these hostages or to chase after Karli. And you see that he has a legitimate struggle with deciding to save the people, which, I mean, come on, man, just save the people. And I was genuinely shocked that he did. And I do think that shows some growth for his character, even just the smallest amount of redemption, even though he's still being manipulated by Madam Hydra by the end of the episode, and how he is probably going to be used as a force of not necessarily good things in the future. But as it was in this episode, he got just the slightest bit of redemption in my eyes. Not much redemption. I think he's still a tool, especially when he has that line when he's quoting Lincoln, and Bucky says it himself, like, yeah, you can't pull off that line. That's not you. Just stop it. Just stop. But it was fun to see him joining, finally deciding that his role in this world is not to be Captain America, but to be someone else completely, to be his own thing. And I think that was in a way earned. And then you have Sam chasing after Karli and having this conversation as they're fighting of, him trying not to fight her. He doesn't want to fight her. He wants to help her desperately, as he's been trying to do throughout this entire season. And you just get to see her trying so desperately to take him out and so desperately to make him fight her, because she feels like she needs to do this. She's so warped and just changed by this serum that there's really no going back for her. And she's almost at this point a lost cause. And it's very hard to watch because you are in a slight way rooting for her. And I do think this show really struggled with her character and making me want to care for her. And I think her cause overall, especially after, Sam talks about it with the senators immediately after the sequence, I think that helped her character a lot. And I think on rewatch, now that I know her entire journey, I feel like maybe on rewatch I'll like her a bit more. I don't think she was the best villain, and I do think that Captain Fake America was definitely a much greater villain that built up so perfectly in the past few episodes, whereas Karli has just kind of been on the side. And in terms of villains in the show, ZEMO had his thing. He was very entertaining when he was there, but of course he was just kind of, thrown away last episode, which is what it is. He wasn't the villain of the season. He was a means to an end, which they literally said in the show. And then you have the power broker, who ended up being, of course, Sharon, which I think a lot of people predicted, including myself. And that just makes sense to me and is an interesting villain going forward into the MCU. I'm not really sure what her role is going to be in the future, but the villain of this show was indeed Karli and the Flag Smashers. And I think this show definitely really struggled with making me want to, at least care about the characters themselves. I cared about their cause and what they're fighting for, because it is something that's important, especially in a post-snap world, to have all those people, all these refugees that came back after all this time being shipped off back to their other countries and, not able to live their lives to how they wanted to live it, how they had been living it in those 5 years that everybody was gone. The chance that they had was then taken away from them. And the Flag Smashers, their point and their cause, although it wasn't shown too great within the series, I wish we got more moments of, more people outside of the Flag Smashers, just general, citizens of the country really like fighting for that cause and really believing in that cause. I think that could have really helped, flesh out those characters and flesh out the Flag Smashers in general. But that scene after Karli is shot by Sharon, which, was a very emotional moment, almost. I almost cared about it. I didn't really. But I cared the fact that Falcon cared, or not Falcon, Captain America. I cared that Sam cared so much about, trying to redeem her. And I cared in that way of his overwhelming optimism for this character. I cared in that way. I didn't really care about Karli in that scene. But that being said, once Sam gets out and he's talking to these senators and he has all these great points. And yes, he's not, a political person. He's not an expert in these things, like the senators even call him out on saying, but he says that doesn't matter because you guys are sitting in a room filled with other people like you, and there's nobody in that room that is really being affected by those decisions that they are making. And I think this is a very powerful speech that he has that's just made it so very much what Captain America should be. Captain America shouldn't be the type of soldier that just believes everything that America does, that America is flawless and perfect and is amazing and all these different things. Captain America should be able to question the things that America does, to be able to question those things, because we are not a perfect country, and that is what Sam Wilson stands for in that scene. And as he's seen on television, and as all these other people are watching him speak his words, and no, that's not Black Falcon, that's Captain America, as that one guy says. And that was my favorite scene. Oh, actually, no, it wasn't my favorite scene in this episode, but it was definitely up there for me. When it comes to my favorite scene, of course, it's going to be Isaiah Bradley, because his storyline throughout this entire season has been absolutely phenomenal. And I just have to commend the actor for his performance. He was in Dr. Sleep and a few other things, but he is a phenomenal actor. Carl Lumbly is his name, and I had to look it up. I couldn't go without mentioning his actual name in this review, because he has been so phenomenal. And that conversation that he has with Sam after Sam has stood out in front of the world as the new new Captain America, that conversation that he has with Isaiah Bradley is very, very powerful. And what this scene leads to is him taking Isaiah and his son, or his grandson, over to the memorial, that museum that has been so prominently shown in a lot of the movies in the MCU, and it's a location that we all know. As soon as it cut to that scene, I was like, oh, this is cool. Because I thought maybe at one point they were going to have Isaiah Bradley stand in front of the world, shown as he is, and he was going to get like a Medal of Honor or like some sort of recipient by the actual government. But no, I think what's even better is just telling his story, because he doesn't want that. He doesn't want to be shown in front of the world as, something that was hidden and thrown away by history. And he didn't want that. And the fact that he will now have a memorial in this museum to share his story, that his story will then live forever, is the best thing that they could have done with this character. And a couple other things to wrap up this, recap of this episode was, the other super soldiers were blown up, and of course it was ZEMO and this other old guy on a phone or something like that, and somehow ZEMO got him to blow up all the super soldiers. That's whatever. I thought maybe it was Sharon Carter who did that. I was like, oh, that's kind of dark. But no, Sharon Carter wanted the super soldiers, because that's another thing that's wrapped up. She got her pardon, and instead of, having the super soldiers behind her, now she has access to the US government, which is most definitely even more powerful than that group of super soldiers. So it's very interesting. Like I said, I'm curious to see where they're taking this power broker character, this new evolved Sharon Carter, and how she's going to play a factor in season 2, which I'm really hoping that the director of this show gets a season 2, 6 more episodes to flesh out these characters. Because yes, it will be wonderful to see a new Captain America in the Winter Soldier movie starring Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, but that's probably not going to happen, and I would much rather them have an entire 6 episodes to flesh out this show, because I really do believe that the Marvel shows have a chance to really dive into the characters. And although I think this show really struggled with the villains in terms of their characterizations, I do think when it came to the heroes, it did very well. So I'm really hoping for a season 2 and having Sharon Carter be a larger part of that, because like I said, with the villain characters, she was kind of just there to set up for some future things with her in the future. And I made a little reference earlier when I mentioned John Walker becoming US agent by the end of this. He gets Val give him the suit and give him the moniker of US agent, because that is not what he's going to be. He's not needed to be Captain America, but he's needed to be something else. And this is where I think this character is being manipulated by this, because I believe that we all know that she's going to be Madam Hydra, or maybe some other people are, describing her as like the right-hand woman to Nick Fury in terms of when she was in S.H.I.E.L.D. And I think that could be a thing, but I do think the Madam Hydra thing is much more interesting, because to see this character, which has already been, somebody who falls into pressure and snaps easily. We've seen him do that, and he had to really struggle to make the decision to save people in this episode. This guy is very easily manipulated, and I think that could be an interesting storyline going forward of seeing where they take this character, because I never really see him as being a true hero in any of the movies or shows, but I do see him as being a good anti-hero in a way where he could be manipulated in terrible ways by this character, and to see where that could possibly lead is extremely intriguing. So to wrap up my thoughts on the series as a whole, like I said, I do think it struggled in terms of the villain characters, but overall, I thought The Falcon and the Winter Soldier was a great Marvel series. I'm not sure how I'd rank it just yet. I'm not sure if it's better or worse than WandaVision. I do think it had probably greater moments than WandaVision, with the the Isaiah Bradley, and the more dramatic moments have been my favorite in this entire show. The action was great, and the music score that kind of followed through with Captain America Civil War, and the fact that this was an excellent sequel to Captain America Civil War, which I was not really, I don't know why I wasn't expecting that, but it really was an excellent follow-up to that movie, and also an excellent follow-up to Avengers Endgame and how the world has changed since then. This show did a great job at doing those moments, those character moments, earning the moniker of Captain America for Sam Wilson. I thought all of that was brilliantly done, and I think there are some very strong and powerful moments of dialogue and writing in this show when it comes to especially Isaiah Bradley and Sam Wilson. And of course, you get Bucky Barnes finally making amends with that guy who he killed his son back when he was the Winter Soldier, and that scene was also extremely powerful, and the way that they did the characterizations for the characters throughout this entire show has been very good. And I do think it did struggle in some ways, but for the most part, I very much enjoyed this season. What did you guys think of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier? I'm very curious to hear all of your thoughts on this. This is the first time I've done a video on it this late, so maybe I'll get more views on this video, possibly, but probably not, because everybody's watching my Invincible series. So like I said, definitely go check that video out as well. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, comment down below everything, all your thoughts on this episode and the season as a whole. So thanks guys for watching this video, and I hope to see you all in my next one.